late.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, what we were saying is, I think we were getting ready to talk about just how hard it is to stay awake during Raw now.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the reason that is the shit is so fucking predictable. Like the main event for Payback, the fans were going to get to choose. What the fuck else are they going to choose? Really? Like, my God, make it 3 like things where like, well, I wonder what it is, not just fucking obvious.
What they should have did is they should have had like maybe some different people in there rather than that, you know. And then if the I don't know, the voting would be legit. It would be pretty interesting if it was like just 3 random people, you know. Maybe it wouldn't have been Roman or Orton that they would have chosen.
Well, the thing is, I'm sure the voting is legit, but the choices are just so fucking ridiculous. Like, what are you gonna? Are you gonna choose to eat a Big Mac, a fucking ribeye steak, or a piece of shit?
Right. Basically, that's exactly what they do.
I mean, I'm sure it's not rigged, but I mean the choices are just stupid.
That's like the street fight, no disqualification and no holds barred. Like, what the hell? It's all the same.
Yeah.
Like, why even have choices? It's stupid.
Yeah, and they were hyping that shit throughout the whole night too. Like, anybody gives a shit, really. I mean, maybe like 8-year-old kids, the ones that are hardcore that stay up, you know, hopped up on fucking Mountain Dew and shit all night. They're like, I wonder what the hell, what's gonna happen. But I don't even know what the hell I'm saying.
And the other problem is that announcing is just horrible.
Ugh. I can't. I hate to say this, but I think they need Taz in there, and it sucks for me to have to say that.
He's probably coming, brother.
He should be. Fucking. They need to get JBL out of there, dude. He sucks.
Yeah, you guys were talking about something that you say Booker T was saying about Owen Hart or something like that.
Yeah, they said Owen Hart was a high flyer like Neville, and then Booker T chimes in. He's like, Owen Hart didn't defy gravity. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you're really gonna say that right now?
I missed that. I totally missed that one. Like,
what a dick.
You guys were talking about that. I was like, wow.
Yeah. Then JBL started going on like a rant. Like, I was like half paying attention to that last match, and I just heard him go ranting, and I'm like, what is he talking about? He's like, let's go to commercial and I'll keep ranting. And Michael Cole's like, there's no commercial now. Like, well, when there is one, I'm gonna rant. Like, okay, great.
It's a way to sell that screen experience.
Takes you so out of the match, those guys, because half the time they're having conversations with themselves rather than paying attention to what the hell's going on.
It's either that or promoting something.
I don't know. They're always trying to one-up each other. It's stupid. But
what's funny too is this whole King of the Ring thing, which they focused on most of the night. And did anybody hear one thing about the King of the Ring before Extreme Rules yesterday?
No.
So what I think Meltzer was saying is that was just some sort of last-ditch effort to get people to do the free subscription thing on the network because April ends like in a couple of days. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to throw all this shit out there last minute, like all this stuff they're throwing on the network in a desperate attempt to get new subscribers, I guess.
I'm happy that they're doing it. I like it. And I think doing maybe like, you know, the King of the Ring thing tomorrow is pretty cool. It's almost like a little Tuesday in Texas. Like a nice little Tuesday, little event. But I like it. I hope that they do a full ceremony and stuff tomorrow. They don't save that for Raw. I hope they do the whole thing tomorrow, and I hope they do something with it. I feel like the last couple King of the Rings has been garbage. Like, I think Booker was the last one that amounted to anything. Sheamus wore, like, little sticks on his head for, like, 2 weeks, and then Regal won and didn't really do anything with his either. Like, they should do something. Like, the winner gets a shot, a title shot, and, you know, they keep the name or a gimmick or, you know, something going forward for at least for a year or so. I mean, keep it relevant. Don't just have it just one night it's over and then nothing ever amounts to anything.
I don't really get why they can't just forget about Payback and make King of the Ring.
They should have. I used to like watching a pay-per-view and seeing the same guys wrestle a bunch of times, like a tournament. I like that.
It's almost what this payback's going to be, is just this last pay-per-view without the Extreme Rules.
Right, that's basically, you're right, it is.
Yeah, we had so many awesome like Extreme Rules matches in this show too.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Great. But I guess I mean we're going to do a kind of an Extreme Rules recap, and I guess we'll talk a little bit about Raw. I don't want to do like a complete recap because we don't want to be here until 3 in the morning.
I've already forgot it anyway.
Yeah, I hear you. I missed the first
hours of wrestling, but they were last night. The Extreme Rules, the All-State Arena in Chicago. The crowd, like I was noticing early on in the show, actually the pre-show, the crowd was hot as always. Usually in Chicago, I mean the CM Punk chants return hardcore that night, so we knew we were going to have an interesting night, at least from the crowd. So I miss crowds like that. I think around that time period, like I remember back to the Money in the Bank in 2011. I think it was at the All-State Arena in Chicago as well. Just how freaking hot that crowd was and how that created such a special atmosphere for that match. The Money in the Bank, or at the Cena, I think it was Cena and CM Punk Money in the Bank match in 2011. So yeah, I mean, a hot crowd can definitely make a show, even a bad show, good, I think.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of like the difference in, we were talking about, you talk about that, but like Fastlane, I think they had the crowd was dead the whole show, so it just took away from it.
Yeah, and it's not like I really blame any of these crowds for being dead, but I mean, there's certain towns that you just expect. I mean, if you watch wrestling for any long period of time, you can just tell they're not going to really be a good crowd. Chicago is pretty much always a good crowd, I would say.
Yeah, they were. I feel like they were more vocal last night before the show than during the show. I don't know if they were getting tired as the show went on, or if it was just me getting tired as the show went on. I don't know. Like, I just felt like they started great and they kind of ended a little bit poorly in comparison to what I thought they were going to be the whole night.
Well, I think a lot of the matches the crowd seemed to care about was early on in the show, though. That maybe that was the reason why. I don't know.
Right.
But pre-show match, they actually, I think originally it was the tag title match was the pre-show match, and they switched it around because Daniel Bryan, they're not really actually talking about what's going on with him, which I think is strange. Like they talked to Brie Bella tonight about it too, and she didn't really say too much. I mean, it's kind of weird that they're not really talking about what is going on with him exactly. But that IC title match was, I guess, postponed or canceled or whatever, and led to Bad News Barrett versus Neville, which was an awesome match. I mean, those guys, I think they had a great match together, and I was shocked at the outcome of the match.
Yeah, they had a great match. I mean, Neville honestly is impressing me the most right now. Like, I'm happy what they're doing with him, and to be honest, like, he's the highlight of me watching the product right now, pretty much. Especially, like, again, like I said, I missed a couple of things tonight, but from what I did watch tonight, I mean, he was the most exciting part of the show for me.
Yeah, I think he's had a really good match tonight, and I think it's going to come down to him and Barrett for that King of the Ring, and I mean, they work well together, so be nice to see them again.
Yeah, I think that they're doing him right now, and I just hope they don't mess with it. I talked about it briefly with you guys last night. I think what's making him good right now, and the WWE not burying him in a sense, is they're not talking about the fact that he's so small. They're not mentioning that. Usually a WWE way, they would be like, "Oh, this guy's so small," and this that. They're ignoring it, so you don't think about it. You don't look at him as like a smaller guy, and that was a huge problem for him. He's tiny. He's like what, 5'9". I mean, he's jacked, but I'm glad that they're just making him seem just like a regular guy. and I think that's making it so much better for him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's the one who comes out and wins this tomorrow, because I think they got a lot of hope for him.
For some reason, I think since he beat Barrett at the pay-per-view, that Barrett's going to beat him in the finals.
We can't have Barrett, dude. He sucks. He's so boring, man.
I totally see King Barrett. I can fucking just, I don't know.
That seems like they always go with the heel for the King of the Ring too here lately. So
yeah, and the European too.
Yeah.
You know, they
might
have
as well.
Regal and
He
Sheamus.
like that. He wears like that random robe anyways now, right? That he comes out with that makes no sense for his current character, so you might as well throw a crown on him and it would make so much sense.
Yeah, and really the bad news character doesn't really, I mean, I think they'll just go back to calling him Wade Barrett after if he wins the King of the Ring.
Right.
But who knows? But it was a solid opening match, and I was surprised to see Neville pick up the victory in that match. So
yeah.
Next match was it was actually a recurring match on the show, reminded me of the Backlot Brawl at WrestleMania 12 with Goldust and Roddy Piper. That Dean Ambrose and Luke Harper in a street fight, a Chicago street fight. And really, I was expecting a lot more. I mean, we'll talk about. It was basically just kind of like a plunder match, really. I mean, just a lot of street fighting, a lot of gimmicks and stuff like that. It was fine for what it was, but I think that those guys together could probably have done a little bit more.
Yeah. I
Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that they work really well together. I feel like the feud would have been, built better, and they could have done a lot more. For what it was, I guess it was okay. But yeah, I mean, it was a little bit underwhelming, as far as what those two guys can do together. Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I thought, have some shots of them outside doing some stuff, but I mean, I do know where that arena is. I've been up in that area, and it's like in the middle of nowhere, right by the airport. So, I don't know what they could have done environment-wise out there, but
right.
Well, you could have filmed stuff earlier in the day or whatever.
Yeah.
And, I just don't understand the point of them just leaving for like an hour or whatever, and then just coming back and not really showing anything in between that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What were they doing? Like fighting in that car the whole time? Like as a
I have no idea.
That would have been great if they would have had them if they would have showed them on the highway in the car fighting and somebody just driving like the old WCW days.
Yeah.
Let's see. After that, well, I mean, like we were saying, this match kind of goes. They drive off. They're gone for an hour, and they come back in the middle of the show. So, anyway, after that they had this segment with Kane and Seth Rollins bickering back and forth, and this is something they're continuing on even to Raw tonight. Do you see this ultimately leading to Kane? What happens with Kane basically? What do you guys think? Do you care? I'm sure you don't care. But.
I mean, I care somewhat. I mean, I think he needs the mask. I think if he puts the mask back on, and I think that he's got one more run left in the tank, and he still is in great shape. I mean, you got to give Kane a lot of credit. As boring as he is, it's his character. It's boring. But the guy's never hurt. I mean, I can't remember how many times he's been hurt since he's been in the WWE. He's always there. He's a good worker, and I think give him one more run. Unfortunately, it'll probably be a run where he feuds with Rollins just to kind of pass time. But if this is his last thing, I would, I wouldn't be pissed if he got over as a face with the mask again, and you give him a short, maybe a title win, and then have him just lose it. But I don't have a problem with Kane as long as he's booked right. I think he's still got a little bit left. His time's coming. I mean, as much as, Big Show I want to see retire tomorrow, I'll let, Kane go till next year's Mania and maybe do a farewell thing because, he definitely still has it in him to go.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think it's going to be a something to pass the time until SummerSlam or something.
Yeah.
So.
Well, at least we didn't get Big Show tonight on Raw. I think they gave him the night off. So that's always good. I just think, though, like, what they constantly do with Big Show and Kane is they'll give them like 3 or 4 months off, and then, you know, they get big reactions maybe the first 2 weeks they're back, and then it's back to, I think that these guys just need to go, you know, honestly.
Yeah. I mean
it's time.
I think this right now is hurting their legacy a little bit more than it should, both of them. I mean, this corporate Kane thing is ruining a lot of what Kane had done throughout his career. Big Show, too. Like, you know, Big Show was great, man. When he first came into WWE, I loved him. I mean, I think he was awesome. And then the older he got and the more he hung around, just the more tired of him you get. Like, I just feel like he especially was not billed right. He was too overexposed. He was a jobber half the time. You know, then they try to reincarnate him as like the big giant, and it just was too many times that they did this. He should have retired a long time ago, or just been a special attraction like Andre and only showed up at certain events, because now and Kane kind of fits in that mold too, where, you know, I look at them more as jobbers than what they really should be, because I feel like they were overexposed and they weren't used as special attractions like I think that they should have probably, I don't know, 10 years ago starting, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely kind of main event jobbers. I mean, constantly, how many main events have they've been on Raw in the last 6 months or so? I mean, I'd love to get that statistic, you know, one of those assholes in the main event or both of them. People are just sick of them. I mean, it's time for them to take a long hiatus, very long.
Well, the problem is look at, you know, it's almost like, why are they in the main event? They're in the main event because they're building around people who need veterans to work with, and that's the problem. You know, you know, it's more than just, most of it is probably Roman, in the sense is that he needs to be feuding with people that can work, and you have to throw Kane and Big Show around there because they can go and they're bigger dudes, but, you know, it's pulling everything else down. You should not have Kane and Big Show main eventing anything in 2015. No way. I mean, think about all the talent you have there, and those are the two guys that are still getting, you know, those top spots. That's pathetic. That's sad, man. And you know, I know Kane's doing something with Rollins and stuff right now, but I really can't fault Rollins in the sense is we all know he can work with anybody. So I don't know why they're still in that spot, unless it's to just get Roman over. I mean, but again, look at when Daniel Bryan won, Kane was right there as his first challenger. So I don't know why these guys are still in those top spots.
I think it's just that they trust those guys to be there when they need them to kind of fill that spot.
Right, but then it obviously shows that they're not building anybody new the right way. I mean, I would rather have someone like Cesaro in a spot like that, not Kane, not Big Show anymore. Like, they aren't building anybody worth a damn if those guys are still holding the fort.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely need to mix it up a little bit, make things interesting. You know, I think that they have the right idea, you know, with giving Cena the U.S. title and Daniel Bryan the Intercontinental title, just because you could have the Intercontinental title match be the main event of the show, and you could have different people in there, even with the you know, they're doing the U.S. title open challenge or whatever. You can get new guys in there that way. But, I mean, when they do these tag matches in the main event, one of them's got Kane and the Big Show against Reigns and fucking Orton or whoever. You know, it's just the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 3-hour show. I understand a lot of these guys are going to have to be reused. But, I mean, couldn't you push like a tag title match as the main event or something? Make each title seem important, I think. I think that they need to definitely mix it up a lot more than what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the problem with the match type too, I think, because how many triple threat title matches are you going to have in the year for the main event? So
yeah,
it's going to be like almost the third basically already this year.
Yeah, I can already tell you right now that I'm not looking forward to the main event of Payback at all, or the pay-per-view itself. I have no, as of right now, there's nothing on there that interests me at all.
Yeah, they definitely need to focus on, because especially this time of year, you could throw out some, you could bring back some cool stuff that WCW did, or, I don't know, they just throw some stuff, maybe King of the Ring like we were saying, because Payback, man, you got so many of these pay-per-views like Payback, Battleground, Fastlane.
Mm-hmm.
They don't sound like anything must-see that you're like, oh man, I got to see that. It just sounds like, oh, it's another episode of Monday Night Raw, and that's basically what it is. They need to definitely put some gimmick matches out there, maybe create some new stuff. I don't know, because if you want people to buy, I think that your key to more subscriptions is not some of these stupid Jerry Springer gimmick shows or adult cartoons or anything like that. You got to make the product better, make people want to see those pay-per-views. That's I think that's the big money draw right there.
Definitely. I mean, now is the time with the network that they need to think outside the box. For instance, War Games should be a definite something that they need to do now. I mean, I think that alone would get subscriptions. I guarantee it would if they brought that back in the same format and everything with his teams. And I think that would totally, bring everything back. And when do you do it? I think maybe, throw that in this year's Survivor Series main event, because you got the teams going and it's a survival type of thing. I mean, they have the rights to all this stuff. Why are they not using it? Out of what? Pride? Out of spite? Like, at this point, it's ridiculous that they don't utilize some of these rights that they have for this kind of stuff, regardless if, they invented them or not. We haven't seen an Elimination Chamber in a while. I'm not saying everything has to be gimmick, but give a reason for people to want to buy. These things, like you said, Fastlane and Payback and Battleground, these events are garbage. They should be gone, and, do something like a King of the Ring. Do something like, there's no pay-per-view this month, so we're going to do Saturday night's main event on the network, and it's going to be a Saturday. Almost treat it like a pay-per-view. It's going to be on a Saturday night instead, and market towards that. Like, something different. Like, you can just tell, like you said, just the names alone it's almost like laughable.
Yeah, or even, in July, do like a Bash at the Beach. Do like a pay-per-view live at some beach or something, or like at Club La Vila or whatever the hell WCW used to do their stuff at. Change the environment. Make it different, I mean, that's the big thing. Like, don't make it all these shows look exactly the same with the same people wrestling the same people, and it's just stale.
They don't even change up the set.
No.
They don't. Yeah, they have the same set now.
And now they don't even need to have new aprons. They can just put on that digitized board now, and they don't have to really do much of anything anymore. Why not do? It could be anything. It could be, WWE Throwback or something, they could call it, and they could have the red, white, and blue ropes and all the old school. I mean, I love watching the old school Raws. Why don't you do an old school pay-per-view and everything is, have something that people are going to want to see. What is Payback going to have? It's going to be Extreme Rules, like you said, with no Extreme Rules, and that to me is garbage. I would rather have a King of the Ring with a tournament and see the same guy fight 4 times. Throughout the night, and then maybe have like a main event with a championship match on top of it. I mean, I think that would have drawn a heck of a lot more than just watching the same matches we just saw a month ago or last night or whatever.
Unless it's Savio Vega, though. I don't want to see him wrestle 4 times again.
I did watch him wrestle a bunch of times once, though. Yeah. Remember that? Who was that? Was that the Mabel one that he was like going all the way? Was that
Yeah, he was like in 4 matches, I think, in that pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was.
I used to watch those old pay-per-views over and over. I wouldn't watch one of these again if you paid me.
Right. And is it nostalgia? Because the sad part is I feel like the wrestling is better now. So what is it? Is it just?
I think they have possibly their best roster they've had in years, but they're just not using them right. So I don't know.
I mean, think about the talent that they have.
Talent-wise.
Yeah, I mean, think of the gimmicks that they could do. Like, for instance, they could technically make anybody they wanted a top guy any day that they wanted, as far as talent. I mean, I would probably have Big E as one of my top heels right now. I mean, you can keep him with the New Day, but they could have marketed it different, like what they originally were going to do, where they were supposed to be like a nation of domination. They could have had him like the leader, and those two guys being like his side guys, and he was like this big, I'm not going to say cult leader or anything like that, but picture Big E in kind of like a Farouk type role, and have him be a top heel. I think it would have worked. He's got the talent. I feel like he's scary enough of a guy that he's intimidating enough to make it work. But instead he's in this joke tag team that only have the titles because they're gaining shit X-Pac heat. That's why. I mean, Cesaro should have already been at the top. I mean, that's the problem. They have the talent, but they don't think. They're not doing anything with it.
Yeah, I think
they're wasting it.
Yeah.
They have plans, and they just don't want to listen to, what the fans think about those plans. I mean, at the very least, one thing that I'm glad that they did is not let Reigns win that title yet, because he definitely wasn't ready for that. And I can only imagine how much worse it would be now if he was a champion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So. Anyway,
I still can't get into him, man. I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't want to be a hater or anything like that, but he does nothing. He bores me. His matches are on. I pay no attention. I don't know. I don't know if it's the way he's booked, if it's just him in general, if I know that, he's the guy that they're going to try to shove down our throats. I don't know what it is, but I have absolutely no interest in him whatsoever.
I think a lot of it is it's just, you can tell that he is the chosen one, and they're, and that's a lot of it. People just don't want to accept it, and they're not behind that. They're just pushing him. They pushed him too fast, too hard, and people, sometimes that doesn't work.
But I mean, you even see though, people are starting to the haters are starting to come out and be like, he's all right now. Like, you can kind of tell, like, the boos have gone from like, now it's half boos. No, I almost feel like people they're starting to change their minds, because I just guess WWE isn't going to give anybody a choice. But I mean, to me, again, like I found Diesel a more entertaining champion or top guy than I do Roman. But I mean, again, I was probably 14 or whatever when that was happening. But still.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff too is, and you got to think back. Back then, Monday Night Raw was just an hour long, and now it's 3 hours every week, and that has a lot to do with it too. I think because these guys, like you were saying, they do have probably the best roster, one of the best rosters they've ever had. But even with that roster 3 hour time slot, that's tough to make an entertaining show every week for 3 hours and make it not extremely predictable like it was tonight. I mean, you could, every damn thing that happened on that show tonight, you could pretty much predict was going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I can barely get through the 3 hour Raw. There's no chance in hell I'm going to watch SmackDown too throughout the week, so I never see that.
No, I never watched SmackDown either.
I think if there was more storylines with different guys, I think it would be a little bit easier to watch. But I feel like the storylines are so small, it's almost just like feuds. There's feuds, but there's no stories behind a lot of the feuds, and I find that draws away as well. Like, you look at the Attitude Era, and it was like everybody had a storyline. And to be honest, as popular as that era was, it was due to the fact that everybody had a story. There was different things going on, because the wrestling then sucked. The wrestling in the Attitude Era was terrible. I mean, you look at the roster that they had, and it was like the Headbangers, DOA, Los Boricuas. It wasn't a great roster of guys. It was just that everybody had a gimmick, everybody had a character. I mean, you had storylines going on with Val Venus and Kai and Tai. You had stories going on with, Mark Henry and a side story with China, and that, and the DX was feuding with someone. It was just that even the smaller guys had storylines, and there was something to like about everybody. Where, Godfather would come out and get one of the biggest pops of the night, and Mark Henry would come out and get one of the biggest pops of the night. It's like everybody was popular because everybody had a story and a reason for people to get behind them. Now, there's nothing.
Yeah, it seems like back then, too, like the show was 2 hours long, but they crammed as much as they could into that 2 hours, and it kind of just seemed to fly by. You know?
Like they could have done a backstage segment with two people in a storyline, maybe doing like there was one time I think where Mark Henry brought Chyna on a date, and they showed like a couple clips like throughout the show, or they showed like Al Snow and Blackman out in the town buying clothes and going on a double date, and then that's the only thing they did, and then the next week they actually were on the show in a match, and maybe they took other two guys who were on the show the week before and just had like backstage segments with them, and it kind of flowed better. Like you weren't seeing the same guys wrestle every week, but you saw them in there in some capacity, like furthering their story for a later event. So I think that's where it was a lot easier.
Well, it's like when like you were saying there, like Sandow's one of their most popular guys now. Now he's just there. He has nothing going on really now.
And what was the outcome tonight? Is he Damien Sandow now? Is that because that's what they announced, and I don't know how they got to what happened to now he's back to Damien Sandow. I don't know how that got there, but that's what they said. So yeah, what is Damien Sandow now? Just a guy who mimics everybody, copies and makes noises and stuff? I don't know what his thing.
I guess he's a guy in a black shirt. That's it.
I'm gonna get over like a turd in a punch bowl, both. Let's continue on with Extreme Rules, though. The next match was the Kiss Me Arse match. Kiss Me Arse mark. Yeah, luckily this match wasn't too long. Sheamus lost the match, but he didn't kiss Ziggler's arse. It was, what can you say about it? Kiss Me Arse. I mean, this is one of the things, like when this shit is on, this is why we're embarrassed to be wrestling fans sometimes. It's stupid shit like this.
I never want to see one of those matches ever again. And it came out of nowhere, kind of. Like, it was just like one day Freddie was like, they're doing a Kiss Me. I'm like, what? How? Why? Like, how do you just come up with that stipulation for no reason? Like, it makes no sense. Like, there was nothing leading up to it that would be the match. There was nothing. Yeah,
other than the fact that Sheamus says arse sometimes. So we'll have a Kiss Me Arse match.
So what's next? A Kiss My Fella match? Is that what they're going to do next? I don't understand. It's so stupid. And then to end it the way it did, it was like, what was the point? There was no point.
You're talking about rebranding too. I mean, in this PG era, why is there Extreme Rules pay-per-views still? I mean, you can't really do anything extreme anymore. So this is another one that needs to kind of go bye-bye, I think, too.
Yeah, and as we keep talking about the pay-per-view, like what we've said already it's like called Extreme Rules, but they cut so many corners that it's not extreme at all. So, for instance, Kiss Me Arse match, which, okay, there was no arse kissing at all, so that was a waste. Then you had Ambrose and the other guy, and they were driving around, and you didn't see him half the night, so that was a waste too. So everything that had a stipulation was pretty stupid. Like nothing. They didn't do anything with it. So there's no need.
What confused me about the match was I think we named everyone Sheamus was going to feud with last month except for Ziggler, so I was totally thrown by the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm glad Ziggler won because I was a little nervous about this match, and if he was to lose and had to do that, I was like, what are they doing? I don't know. He's one of those guys that I get nervous about. When he's not winning, I'm like, he's falling back down. They're not going to do anything with him. But I'm glad he actually picked up the win here.
The thing is, too, though, we were talking about, how long was Sheamus out for, 5 months or so? Mm-hmm. And he's been back for, about a month now, and people are sick of him already. So
yep.
What do they do with Sheamus now?
I think
he's a heel. Still, nobody gives a shit about him. So
I don't think anything. I think, to be honest, the only thing I can say you can do with a guy like Sheamus at this point is, maybe follow a route of like a JBL. Like, for instance, maybe Sheamus needs to be in a tag team with another dude. You kind of like the APA where these two big dudes just get together and just beat up people for no reason. I think that's the only thing that maybe can get him back over, is if it's more of just like, maybe you call 1-800-FELLER and they come out and cover your ass. I don't know. I mean, maybe put him in. Who's another big dude that likes to fight? Barrett? I don't know. Put them two together and just have them just be hired to beat people up. I don't know. I just don't know either of them, to be honest. I'm tired of both of them, and I don't know what you do with them at this point. I do like Sheamus' new music. I'll give him that. But other than that, he sucks. He's boring to me.
they could have. I think that they could have booked Sheamus like a Brock Lesnar in a way, and just have him be a badass heel that just beats the shit out of people, and that's it. But for some reason they don't. Brock Lesnar's the only guy they book like that.
I think because Brock's I don't know, he's so believable. Like, again, Sheamus can probably beat some asses, but again, I don't take Sheamus serious. I don't know why. And I don't know if that's what everybody else's issue is too.
But if they book, if like I was saying though, if they book him that way, look at how they did Mark Henry a few years ago, where he was just nobody gave a fuck about him. I mean, and of course they don't again now, but I mean for a short period of time there, they made him this badass, ass kicker.
Yeah, but I think the problem is that they try to do that with some guys, and the problem is I think that they've already, degraded them and stuff so much that it's hard to go back. Like, Brock has always been a badass. I mean, even back in his day, he was always a badass. All these other guys that they're like, you know what, we're going to make them tough again, we're going to make them unstoppable, they're already at some point semi-jobbers. So I don't think anybody takes it serious because they've already been shit, and now you're just going to be like, oh, well, today they're going to be unstoppable again. I think that's a lot of the problem with some of these guys, like a Sheamus or a Mark Henry or, even a Kane and Big Show. It's like you can't take them serious because you've already beaten them down so much that how can all of a sudden now a light switch go on and they just be unstoppable again? I think that's where the problem is too.
I always wonder. I've never known where you should go with Sheamus. I mean, it's just kind of there, kind of like you said, like Big Show and Kane. What do you do with him?
Well, that's what makes me nervous about Rusev, because I feel like when Sheamus got in, he was kind of like Rusev when he was like unstoppable, a badass, and as soon as he kind of like lost, they didn't know what to do. After he lost that belt, it's like they didn't know what to do with him.
Yeah.
And I think I'm afraid that's going to happen to Rusev too. Once Lana's gone, I don't know what.
Yeah, and they're already teasing that, by the way. Lana is as good as gone.
But,
yeah.
I think it's dumb because I think that's going to ruin him without her.
So, next match of the night was, I think, probably the best match on the show. It was the tag title match. Tyson Kidd and Cesaro versus the New Day. I was really shocked at the outcome of the match, but the more I think about it, it's like it kind of makes a little sense because, whether or not they meant for this to happen or not, New Day is kind of getting over as heels now. I think the crowd after Mania gave them that rub. But Cesaro and Kidd also seem to. There's a couple of times on this show where they just turned this team babyface kind of in this match, in the middle of the match almost, or something, it seemed like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I was kind of, I don't know, it's kind of strange.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of strange stuff going on now. I mean, the Bellas are faces out of nowhere. I think this was definitely match of the night for sure. And the crazy part is this was supposed to be the pre-show match. So imagine that. Imagine if it was the pre-show match. You know, what would this event would have looked like? I mean, maybe Bryan could have saved it, or at least his match been good. But if that match didn't happen and these guys were still the pre-show, this was the match of the night, in my opinion, as well. You know, do I like how it ended? You're right. You know, they are getting over as heels. I don't like the New Day. I mean, I think that there's something there, like I said before, but I just think that they haven't found it yet. Like, this whole thing should be a facade, and maybe they come clean and say, you know what, this was all a facade, and we're really a different way. I mean, they've got to be real heels, threat, not a comedy act or anything like that. And to be honest, I do think that Kid and Cesaro as faces work better. Because I think that they can do more stuff. They have so much more in their repertoire that as a heel, they can't do. So, for instance, the swing, when he's a heel, you don't see it because they don't want people to cheer. Tyson Kidd, I mean, he's a high flyer. You don't see him doing that crazy stuff because, again, you don't want to get a pop. So the fact that they were faces last night, they were able to take a lot of new stuff on their repertoire that was kind of like, you know, there was a lot of wow moments with some of the stuff that they were doing. They were very exciting. And I hope that if they keep them this way, you know, they'll both get over more because they've got so much stuff that they can do, those guys, that as a heel, it takes a lot of that away. And, you know, even Seth Rollins is a prime example. You know, you look at the Seth Rollins that you saw when the Shield were faces against Evolution, and he works very differently as he works now. You know, he was the guy that everybody was going crazy for, but he hasn't jumped or done any of those crazy things since he left the Shield. I'm happy with Cesaro and Kidd as faces, as long as they push them the right way, and I hope they get the titles back, and I hope they don't split them up, and if they do, it's hopefully to make one of them a main eventer, not to just do like a one and done deal, and then they both become jobbers.
You know, I think what happened with this match too is those guys backstage is like, you know what? They put us on the pay-per-view. Let's fucking go out there and show them what we can do. Because all these guys, you know, I mean, whether or not you agree with what they're doing with the characters or not, Kofi Kingston, man, I've said it for years. That guy's fucking awesome. Like, he probably one of the more underutilized guys they've had there in 10 years or longer. So I think they just went out there and did what they could do. You know,
I think that match had a lot of good timing spots too, and they pretty much nailed them all. So, which is really good to see.
Yeah, and Big E and Kofi, all four of them are great in-ring talent. That's why I think this worked. And again, flipping the coin and having Cesaro and Kidd on the face end of it, you know, you saw a lot of the Cesaro strength, and you know they were really talking about it where. As a heel, they wouldn't do that unless Cesaro was being pushed as a monster heel, which he's not. So they're not going to make him seem like this unstoppable strong guy because there's no need to unless he's being pushed as an unstoppable heel. So to be able to see this stuff and you know, like I said, where they were really pointing out a lot of these guys' strengths, it was awesome. I didn't see them tonight. I got home late. I don't know if they were still over were they still doing the face thing or, you know, I didn't.
Yeah.
So was it working for people getting into it?
Yeah, they did like a same match with one of the was it Big E, one of the New Day guys, and Kidd, I think.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
they were. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say though, I think that they're just continuing with that feud. You know, that's probably going to be and hopefully it's actually on the next month's pay-per-view, too.
I mean,
instead of the pre-show.
I hope they showed what they can do and not be thrown on that pre-show anymore.
Well, they got a rematch on SmackDown too. So.
Oh, that's right. Ugh. Okay. Yeah. So and Natty looks better with age, so that helps.
Damn, yeah, I love that new outfit that she debuted at the pay-per-view. That was nice. Let's see. Continuing on, they continued back with the Chicago street fight thing, and they had like dozens of chairs thrown in the ring, and had a little bit more of a brawl there. Ambrose did win the match finally. I think it's the first pay-per-view that he won in how many months? Long time. I can't even remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
But
Freddie
it seems
said
like
10 months, but
what was that now?
I think Freddie said 10 months last night.
I wouldn't be surprised. Ever since he left the Shield, he probably hasn't won a pay-per-view match. So one of the matches, like, they just overbooked this so many ways, like the Cena Rusev chain match, like they had, and honestly, like I can't recall the last. Didn't they had like a chain match with Umaga and Cena at one point, didn't they? It seems like that might have been the last chain match they had, but I can't recall. I think it was with Umaga.
It could have been. I don't remember. I mean, I do remember something with those lights. So there was some kind of strap match that happened at some point, because I can remember the lights.
Yeah, it could have been a strap match instead of a chain match. I don't know, but the thing about the chain match though is what I always remember back in the day, like the chain matches in NWA and stuff like that, is they were always really bloody, and it was more, use of the chain than anything else. And in this one, it was more like just a tug of war match, pretty much.
Right.
And the lights, which were stupid too. I mean, it's like they can't just put something on the screen.
Because the fans are dumb and they don't understand.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all.
Did you see that things too? They were like all messing up half the time. Like there'd be nobody near a corner, and all of a sudden a red light would go on. You'd be like, "What the hell?" Like,
I wonder who had control over the lights.
Yeah, they were like a mess. Like they'd hit one corner and the other corner would go on, and it was like, "What the hell?"
All this talk too about like, the momentum and stuff like that. It just reminded me of like the 2K sports wrestling games and stuff like that. Like all the what was meters. Like the meters and the momentum meters and all that stuff. I was like, it's just for some reason reminds me of that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, a match like this, everybody keeps talking about, what is it, San Martino did one or something. See, I didn't know that. I wasn't watching it then. To me, when I hear Russian chain match, the first thing I think of is Sting and Nikita Koloff, who had one in like WCW 1991. That was one of the times I remember a Russian chain match being done. I'm surprised they didn't bring up Sting being in one, because that's the only one that I recall, to be honest, was that one.
They're done with Sting for now, I guess.
I guess so.
Until next year's Mania.
This match took me out of the show. I mean, it was just horrible, I thought.
Would you have rather seen a Yappa Pie strap match?
I'm just sick of the Rusev Cena feud already, and they're doing it again next month in I Quit match. And I just keep thinking back to all these shitty shows. Like, this is just going to be another shitty show that nobody's going to remember the day after it happened. I mean, that's why I have to have like the Wikipedia of all the results and shit up here, because I can't even honestly remember a lot of the stuff that happened yesterday.
Yeah, I hear you. Me either. Yeah. But what happens from here? I mean, Rusev's going to lose, right? Because him and Lana are splitting, so they got to continue that, right? How could he lose for a third time? He's done if he does. I don't know. I don't know what can happen here. It's
just a matter of time anyway. I think he's done anyway. I mean, it reminds me, and honestly, I think that I'm going back to Umaga again, but it reminds me of Umaga in a way because, of how much momentum that dude had, and then when he finally started getting beat, he basically become a jobber before he left finally.
Right.
And it's the same thing happened with Rusev. I don't understand the point either. Like, do they not have anything else for Cena? Can't they come up with any other feuds for him at this point? I mean, I know he's been there for like 13 years straight. But man, the Rusev thing again for a third straight show, third straight month.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't give a shit about this match. I mean, I definitely don't give a damn about the I Quit match.
Well,
I mean, I just don't see how they're going to make that anything anybody wants to see.
all right, so let's say we were writing right now. What would you do with Cena? I know what I would do. What would you do with Cena right now? If you could.
Okay, if I was booking the I Quit match at what is the payback or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
I would honestly have Cena lose. I don't know how they get around it because you know they're not going to get him to say I quit, but I would have Cena out for a while with an injury, saying that Rusev broke his back or whatever, fucked him in the ass, and they set up the rematch in like 5 months at SummerSlam or something like that when Cena finally comes back. I think that Cena needs a break in the worst way. But they, like you were saying, if Rusev loses this next match, which odds are he's probably going to do, there's nothing left for him at all.
Yeah, if Rusev loses, go ahead and team him up with Sheamus, because there's your two big guys.
Yeah, you're probably right, man. And I feel bad because I don't have an issue with Rusev. I think he does great. I think he does great ring work. I think the character's pretty cool. The problem is the way he was built. You know, you build a guy like that to be like the foreigner who's unstoppable. You got to come down eventually at some point. And I think by him losing Lana is only going to make it worse for him. At least he had her to kind of talk for him and to keep him relevant. If I was to book Cena right now, I'm looking at is what does Rusev want? Does Rusev want Cena or does he want that belt? What's more important to him at this point? Because if I was to book Cena right now, I would have Cena throw the open challenge thing up and have someone come in just like how Cena came in. Cena came into an open challenge from Kurt Angle, remember? That was how Cena came into the WWE. He beat Angle or whatever, or I don't know if he just gained his respect. I don't remember. But he came in on these open challenge. Have a new guy come in, maybe a Balor, maybe Kevin Owens. Have somebody new come into this open challenge and beat Cena. And from there, it's either Cena still faces Rusev, you know, with no title on the line and have Rusev win, and then send Cena off, and then you got Rusev feuding with whoever beat Cena for the title, or, you know, you have the guy who beat Cena for the title go against Rusev at Payback. I mean, I don't know, or a triple threat or whatever, but I think that's what needs to happen with Cena. Cena needs to get hooked in with a new guy that's going to beat him for that belt, and he'll feud with that new guy for a little while, because with Rusev, it's not going anywhere. And why keep doing these open challenges if he's just going to blow by everybody every week? You've got to have somebody new come out and win.
That makes a lot of sense, which means there's no way they're going to do it.
Right. I mean, it does make sense because it's like that's exactly how he came in. It would be so awesome if someone else came in and did the same thing to him that he did to Kurt Angle. You know, that's a story. And you bring a guy in like a Balor and Owens, and his first night he beat Cena for that U.S. title. All right, we've already got a new star now.
I think Cena and Owens would have some good matches, actually.
I definitely do. I think that's a Mania match in the future. They did a lot of feuding back in the day via Twitter and stuff. I don't know if you remember that. I mean, all of Kevin Owens' shirts from Ring of Honor are Cena ripoff shirts. Like all his designs were basically ripping off Cena's designs. Like there was heat there between those two guys. I think that's definitely a match in the future, if not, you know, Mania, or maybe that's how Owens debuts. I don't know, but you know, that's definitely. I think they would have awesome matches.
Yeah.
So, continuing on here, guys. We were talking about the Rusev Cena chain match. The end of the match was kind of confusing too, because Cena did kind of break. I don't know how they determined who broke what momentum or what, but Cena, they both were tied at three corners, and Cena hit like a AA and then hit the fourth corner for the win on that one. So I was a little confused how that worked, but whatever.
That is confusing, right?
Yeah, they should have had a coal miner's glove match. I mean, I was looking. I would have rather seen that, like I was saying. But next matchup, yeah, they could do the spin the wheel, make the deal on a pay-per-view. Why don't they bring that back? Or they don't even do the Raw roulette thing anymore. Remember when they used to do that? That was kind of like spin the wheel, make the deal.
Yep.
Nikki Bella versus Naomi for the Divas title. For some reason, I was just captivated by Naomi's light-up shoes in this match. And I was trying to figure out, how does that even work? Like, I know that Jericho's got the light-up vest and stuff, but, you can hold the battery pack in the pocket of that damn thing. How does a light-up shoe work? I mean, this is shit. This is all I was watching during this match. And it's kind of distracting, too, because it's, like, really bright, those light-up boots.
I was watching the one tonight.
Yeah. I was watching them too because like one of them was changing colors but the other one wasn't, so I was like, is it broken? Is it supposed to switch colors? Because one was staying green and the other one was like blue, purple, and I was like, wait, what's happening in one of these things? And that's what I was paying attention to. I think the sunglasses looked ridiculous, so she should probably chuck those. But as far as the match, I don't even remember it, man, to be honest.
I don't either. I just remember the boots.
Yeah, me too.
That's pretty bad when your shoes are more over than you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't remember what happened. Didn't Brie hit her or something, I think? And then Nikki, I don't remember. I don't understand how the Bellas are faces now anyways. I don't remember that. I don't know how that works either. How can they?
I think they just they kind of just said, "Oh, you're babyface again." It's like, do you remember the feud with Nikki and Brie? How they just that's done. Just for no reason. That's over. They love each other now. There's no reason, but
She told us
there's all kinds of examples. They just completely drop shit and don't even though they have 3 hours of Raw every week where they could explain some of this stuff. They just whatever.
I mean, let's hope it gets better with the years to come, man, because again, more storytelling in 3 hours is a lot easier to write than matches, I would think. Especially when how many matches did we have that were rematches from last night? Did we have a couple tonight? Somewhat, right?
Yeah. And with the main event.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had Orton and Rollins wrestling, and it was Naomi and Brie Bella tonight, which is pretty much this. You can't tell those two apart anyway.
The New Day and Cesaro, and then you had Bo Dallas and Ryback, and it was all the same.
Yep. Let's see. One that I was kind of surprised at, though, and not that it was great or anything, but it was better than I thought it would be, was Roman Reigns and Big Show, last man standing match, just because I didn't care about this match, really. I was like, whatever. But, I mean, they did they threw a lot of stuff out there and made it, I think it was easily the best match those guys have ever had. It's not really saying a whole lot, but it was fine for what it was. I don't know. I didn't really hate it or anything.
No, I agree. It was fine for what it was. Again, I had no excitement for the match at all. I was barely paying attention, but there was some good spots and stuff that they did.
Yeah, I think if Big Show would have went off the top onto those two tables on the floor, you would have got your wish, because I don't think it would have came back from that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it was, I don't know. It was basically, it was. They made Roman look good. Even just him taking that big bump into those two tables. I mean, that made him look good.
Yeah.
Do I think him tipping on the table and Big Show couldn't get up was a little bit far-fetched? Yeah, but I don't know. At this point, what else do you do?
Yeah, they're really trying to sell the fact that table's heavy, because we all know it's probably not that heavy.
Yeah, you see when it breaks, it's in like 4 pieces. It's not heavy.
It's like a plastic damn table that just kind of like snaps together, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
It's the life-size version of the table that comes with the playset.
Yeah, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. I thought it would have been more effective though if Roman would have just jumped up from the ground and speared Big Show rather than using the steps.
Yeah, so those steps were pretty much set up. Big Show set those up for Roman to walk on later. Is basically what happened. Yeah. Because they didn't. He never tried to do anything with them. He set him up. They're like, "Oh, what is he doing?" And then he never did anything with them again.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, they did some crazy stuff in this match, and Reigns speared Big Show through the, like you were saying, through the table and stuff like that. It was kind of a crazy spot, and threw the table on him and all that for the win. And Big Show was gone from Raw tonight. Thank God, they gave him the night off. They did I guess they had some time to waste. They did a segment with Bo Dallas coming out, and I was kind of surprised, like, what in the hell is this? But it was kind of just a spot for Ryback to come out and, basically destroy Bo Dallas.
I feel bad for Bo. He's not going to be around much longer. He looks like shit.
I was noticing it too. He looked like he put on a lot of weight.
Oh my God! But it wasn't even. Yeah, it's like weird. It's like weird weight. I don't even know what you. I don't know. He doesn't look good, man, at all. He doesn't look. He just looks like shit. I feel like he's not doing anything. He's one of those guys that Vince is just going to be like, we don't need him. He sucks. He needs to do something. He needs to cut weight, get himself looking better again, or just utilize this and have him join his brother and do something with them too, because it sucks. Because I was a big Bo Dallas fan, but now I just look at him and I don't know. I don't dig the beard thing. I don't feel like it fits his character. I don't know what he is anymore. They wasted him big time.
What kind of injury did he have where he was out for so long? I don't even.
It was like his foot or something. His foot. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. They haven't really.
Oh, go ahead.
Have they really cut? I mean, I know they released a couple of NXT guys, but they haven't really done their yearly cuts yet. No. And that's probably coming up pretty soon. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was one of those guys on the list.
Yeah, I mean, think about that, though. He was the NXT champion, and he came into the WWE, and now look at him. And he's going to be cut. It's just like, that doesn't... He was like their top heel for a long time down in NXT. It's sad that he came up and they didn't know what the hell to do with him. I feel like it was working at first, and he had like a 20-0 streak, remember, of like wins. And then all of a sudden he just loses to Truth for no reason, and they didn't do anything with it. And then all of a sudden it was like he didn't even have the streak anymore. He could have used the streak as a gimmick, for a while.
Yeah.
They could have had him go 22-0 and call out the Undertaker saying he had a better streak than him, or something funny that he could have utilized that for. Instead, he just loses randomly to Truth, and he just falls down the ladder. I don't. It's WWE's fault that he was ruined. And now that I don't think he's a glorified jobber now.
So yeah, he gets killed by Ryback. That's pretty much. It was just a time waster, I think. I mean, that just seemed like something they just kind of threw out there last minute, maybe. I don't know. Then they already announced the Tina Rusev rematch before the end of the show for Payback. I think Lana had a meeting with the Authority or something like that, and we were wondering what's up with that. No, she's just getting another fucking match nobody gives a shit about on the next
So this
month.
would be their 4th match, right? On pay-per-view?
Yeah. 3rd match.
Well, no, because they did before Mania, remember?
They had a match at Fastlane.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is the 4th match then.
That's crazy, man, huh? 4 matches?
And the thing is they feel the need that they have to announce it before the end of the show, like that's the biggest draw, like of the show or something.
I don't know. Stupid.
Damn. I think that this main event, like, I didn't really, honestly, maybe I was expecting too much because I know both of these guys can produce a pretty awesome match together, but it was just more plunder after plunder, and the cage, like, I don't know if did they film the cage differently than they normally film, because it was just kind of distracting for me more than anything else, and I was thinking, now since the turnbuckle they have all the turnbuckle cameras and stuff, they're going to utilize them a little bit, but they didn't use that shit at all, did they?
No, I mean, again, I was watching it, but I'm big into Seth Rollins, and I think Randy Orton's great. I have no problem with him, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about Randy Orton. There's something about him that I don't know. It's not that he's not intriguing. I mean, I like Randy Orton. I just feel like I don't see Randy Orton as a champion again. So to me, I didn't feel like it was a match that I had to pay attention to, because I really didn't think he was going to win. So I just think his time as world champion is done. I think he's a good hand for sure. I think he's a good worker, but to me, I thought this was just a filler for Rollins. So I wasn't really paying attention to it, and the stipulations I thought were stupid. You have a cage match. Why did Orton want the cage match? Because no one would get in, right? So then why did they have Kane as a guard? If he made a cage match so no one could get in, but then they have a guard because people were going to come in. So it's like, why even have a cage match then? It doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like I want a cage match, so no one will get in the door. Okay, Kane's going to be the guard, so no one gets in. Like, then pick a different match then, because that obviously isn't doing what you wanted it to do.
Here's my question too: is there no rhyme or reason when they have a cage match when you can take the pin for the finish, or
yeah, that's the rules.
I don't get that.
I think it's got the same rules as like the Money in the Bank briefcase, where it's like sometimes it counts and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know the rules on that either. I really don't. But yeah, it's like sometimes you only can climb over, and other times you can do another thing. Yeah. I guess it all depends on the finish that they decide.
I just think this match was it's kind of like you said, there was just too much going on, and those two guys on their own can have a hell of a match. They had it last month, so why would you not do that again?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there was too much focus on other things like Kane, and it took away from the match itself. I think they should have did a Hell in the Cell if the real reason he wanted this match was to keep people from coming in. Why do a cage when you can choose a cell? Why keep the top open so people can climb in then have the top shut? It just, again, was a stupid stipulation that his reasoning made no sense for it. It's like he's never watched the product or something. He's never watched the product in his life and knows that people can get in that cage.
I'm with you, though, as far as, like, there's just no chance at Randy Orton winning. I mean, nobody would ever think that. It reminded me back of it's probably about 3 or 4 years ago when they had R-Truth face Cena at those pay-per-views. Mm-hmm. Like, well, what's the point? I mean, it's just, who's going to buy it? Orton's not going to get the title anytime soon, I don't think. Definitely he's not going to win it against Rollins. They're saving that shit. I mean, if Rollins loses, it's probably at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I think that if they brought Kane back with the mask and if he was getting over with the fans, I would think that Kane would beat Rollins before I think Orton would. Just maybe as like a final thing for Kane, like his last hurrah. And then it'll be a short-term thing. He'll probably lose it the next night on Raw like he always does. Yeah. I would find that more believable than them putting it on Orton at this point. Because I don't see Orton. I think if Orton got it, he'd want to have it for a while, and I just don't see him as a long-term champion anymore.
Orton's kind of in that Cena line to me. He's been there and done that.
Right.
Why do it again? So.
But maybe he should be a guy that to go. Maybe he should feud with Bryan then, and for the IC belt, like get him out of there, and have him doing some lower card stuff. But keeping those titles legit so he can go do that and still seem credible.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know who your top guys are, though, for Rollins. Kane and Roman? I don't know.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see because you've got, at least you've got May, June, July pay-per-views where you're going to have to, I mean, we know what the pay-per-view for Payback is. I don't know why anybody would want to pay to see that because you basically saw it on Raw tonight already. I mean, what do you do? Do you do Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins match for June? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, who's a face that is up there for Rollins? I mean, unless you have Ryback beat Bray and then go after Rollins, but again, I don't see them giving Ryback the belt, so it would be just it'll just be another time waster. You know, I don't know who's up there.
I think it's all a time waster because it's got to be Rollins versus Lesnar at SummerSlam. So.
Yeah, so they're just trying to find filler for this at this point, which is sad. I mean, I'd love to see Bryan and Rollins have a nice go at it, but you know, I don't know if Bryan's healthy enough to have that happen. But that'd be a great match.
Yeah, the whole thing with Bryan is very. I don't know. I'm kind of worried about it just because they're not saying anything about what's going on with him at all. Like they don't even know.
Yeah.
It sucks, dude. I feel like he fucks shit up though, you know. He screwed all of 2014 up because of that injury. Not that it was his fault, but you know, there was a lot going on that they had to randomly scramble and fix once he was out. You know, he wasn't meant to be out at that point. So a lot of things had to change, and the same thing now. I think Bryan was, you know, he probably wasn't slated to win the title anytime soon, but I bet he was in some important feuds going forward that now they're probably just like, okay, what are we going to do? Because, again, they're not saying, you know, I heard from somebody it's not that bad. Then I heard from other people saying it is that bad. So, I don't know. I think at this point it's scary because he might just say, screw it, I'm retiring. Because every time I go in there, I end up getting hurt or I keep aggravating the same injury.
Yeah, it's something, you know, maybe take a long hiatus like Shawn Michaels did and get healed up real good and come back later on, you know.
Right.
Because evidently his body wasn't ready to, you know, do the stuff he was doing before the injury or whatever.
How old is he, do you know?
I think he's 34 or 33. One of the two.
Yeah, so he's definitely young enough to take like a 4 or 5 year break and still come back, possibly.
Yeah, it sucks too because I feel like things could have been built around him going forward. Because all those like Ring of Honor guys and stuff that are coming up, you know, it would have been some great feuds with him included as like a, you know, when all these older guys leave, he would have been like a top guy. You know, he would have been the veteran, and we could have seen a lot of good feuds. You know, that I feel like, I don't know, I just feel bad because I feel like he got himself so over, and it's just like things just came crashing down for the guy. You know, they always looking for that big star, and it's like he's that star they're looking for, and he did it on his own. But you know, if you're that hurt, and you know, it screws a lot of stuff up.
Yeah, the thing is too is he's one of those guys that I don't even know if he come back and kind of scaled it down a little bit. I don't know if the fans would react to him the same way because a lot of the reason they're behind him is he is just kind of explosive and does crazy ass shit.
I think he lost some of that steam when he came back. So
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I listened to a podcast with him where he said if his arm, he had a problem with his elbow or his arm where it was like really weak, and he said he was taking some grappling classes on how to wrestle with one arm. So, I mean, he was planning on still trying to compete and trying to work with one arm. So, I don't know. I don't know if that would make, you know, him not exciting or it would be kind of intriguing to see that.
Right.
No.
So, yeah, I guess that leads us to Raw tonight, which, man, like I don't even know where to get started with Raw. Definitely don't want to go, segment by segment and talk about it. I don't know, just get some overall feedback on Raw. It put me to sleep a couple of times, and it was one of those deals where I'd go to the bathroom and just fucking put water on my face to try to stay awake because I knew we were doing this show tonight, and it was difficult, to actually stay awake during the show because a lot of times, a lot of these matches you see, it's the same stuff week in and week out.
I can't think of anything that stood out to me. I mean, it's just your typical crap Raw.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that like I said, I came in late. I'm sure seeing Cesaro Kid and Natty would have probably been the highlight for me. To be honest, the only thing I gave a shit about was Neville tonight. That was it. Everything else, I kind of just I was half out of it, not even really paying attention. So I really can't give any review on tonight because it was boring, man. Nothing happened. It's the same shit.
It was. Yeah, they had the only thing that really kind of stands out that was a really good match is Luke Harper and Neville. They had a really good match. It was like a King of the Ring qualifying match. And Luke Harper, man, he's one of those guys too. I think he's totally underutilized just because he is still in that Wyatt family. He's got that on him, that stink on him, I guess, where he's never going to be above that, which kind of sucks for him just because I think he's one of those big guys that's really good, and I don't know if they can just change his gimmick around, maybe put a mask on him or something, but I think he's one of those guys I could do a lot more with than what they're doing.
At least he's still on the show at times. I guess Rowan's gone, isn't he? I mean, he's never on, so.
Yeah.
You know what I did like that they did tonight with the King of the Ring stuff, and again, it made it seem so much more important, is I really liked every time somebody came out for the King of the Ring match, they had that little promo at the bottom of the screen, kind of like they would do in the old school where they'd have a backdrop, and they were telling you why they should be the King of the Ring. I think the little touches like that make things seem so much more important. And I like it. You got something from everybody. Even Luke Harper was oh, I'm gonna have barbed wire and and I don't know what he was saying, but it was just interesting to hear everybody explain why they think that they should be the king and what they would do if they were the king. And I don't know, it was refreshing to me.
I only wish they would bring back the old King of the Ring logo, though. I think that would be cool. Because the graphics and stuff they're using is I think it's the same thing when Sheamus won it 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know, I always go back to that, and that was not a good King of the Ring at all.
I mean, I'm hoping there's a ceremony tomorrow too with it. Or, you know what I mean? I hope they just don't say, oh, the new King of the Ring is this guy, and then it, shuts off. I hope they really go all out and have the throne and, I mean, it's kind of weird because it's who's going to get all that stuff? Is Neville, are they going to put a crown on Neville? Probably not, I guess. Like you said, Barrett really does make the most sense, character-wise, I think. They're not going to do it to Sheamus again, I don't think.
Nah, Dolph's going to cost him that match, I think.
Yeah, that's probably true. He probably will. So, I mean, I just hope they go all out tomorrow, and hopefully it'll help elevate somebody. Because I think if it can elevate Mabel, I think it should be able to elevate anybody.
I don't know if it really elevated Mabel though.
Well, I mean, he got that. He was in the title match for some event. Remember?
I think around that time period, anybody they wanted to elevate, they could just kind of elevate because it was such a shitty. I mean, as bad as it was then, it's kind of like that now, where it's just so damn stale.
Right, but at least that they elevated different people. Now it's they don't elevate anybody new. They just keep going back to the well, where it's oh, we don't know who to elevate. Let's just throw Big Show in there.
It seemed like though throughout that whole show, throughout the King of the Ring tournament, though, they're kind of just putting guys in there that they don't really have any plans for. So it'll be interesting to see that whoever wins it, which I think Barrett will probably win it, if they continue to push that he is King of the Ring. which I think it would have worked a lot better had they hyped King of the Ring up for more than just 2 days. It's just something that they, let's do this really quick. We can change, what is it, main event to King of the Ring finals.
Right.
So
that's just their thinking. I don't know what their logic is there. But hopefully it elevates somebody. I hope it's not just a blow off.
I did get. I was looking on Wrestling Observer though. Some late breaking news. Vern Gagne actually passed away tonight, I think.
Really?
89-year-old.
Wow.
So I actually thought he was older than that, believe it or not. Because it seems like that dude has been around forever.
Yeah.
So. But, as far as Raw goes, not really. I was kind of surprised that R-Truth beat Stardust. I don't really know why, but R-Truth, I'm surprised he's still employed. I know he's good. I mean, he's okay for what he does, but, I mean, he hasn't really done anything in years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're doing something.
Yeah.
Why are they trying to create a feud with Fandango and Adam Rose?
I missed that, thank God.
Why?
To be honest, they should be a tag team, to be honest. That's the only thing they can do, because if not, they might as well just get cut, because they're not going anywhere.
Well, what happened is Rosa helped Adam Rose defeat Fandango, and evidently she's one of the Rosebuds now, evidently. So
until she's cut, because she'll be gone too.
Yeah, she's probably gone too.
I don't think Michael Hayes is going to be able to save her anymore.
No, but yeah, I mean, they did the thing with Sandow, which he's done too. I mean, that thing, you can tell they're not going to do anything with him.
I gave you a perfect opportunity for them. They're going to be the new Mega Powers, and they're just going to have Sandow be like a savage. And then I thought that was happening tonight. When Axel came out, I'm like, all right, here we go. Because I think they were getting clapped. I think them together as a team would be pretty entertaining if they did it right. Not because, I mean, they were getting standing ovations for what? For Sandow mimicking Axel and people were clapping? I mean, I thought that was, unless it was going to end in something somewhat exciting, I think that was the stupidest segment of the night.
Yeah.
It wasn't funny, it was stupid. So, I don't know, I think them being together as a team would be cool. I mean, imagine them being like slightly like a Mega Powers type of rip-off team. I think it would get over. They can do the old handshake. That'd be sweet. But again, do you find that, do you think if he did like a Savage type of deal, do you think that that's disrespectful, or do you think that it's doable at this point?
I think you could do it, but I don't see them doing it, to be honest.
Kind of has a similar look. He's got the beard, the long hair.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, but that's just too good of an idea for them to actually do.
No, it's like you said, he's going to be the guy that just mimics everyone. So.
What is that? So he's like Santino, but I don't know. He's done. It's over.
I don't know either. You got the Wyatt and Ryback thing, which I think is strange too, because Ryback is both of those guys are kind of like, we have nothing, so let's put them together.
Wyatt just wrestles on pay-per-views. I feel like he's like what? He never wrestles. He just does vignettes and then he's on a pay-per-view. I don't know. He did that with Taker. He's doing it now, and you knew something with Ryback was up because every time he comes out, the announcers are like bowing down to how great Ryback is. I'm like, they haven't said just nice shit about him in freaking years. Now all of a sudden he's like, he's the best, Michael. He's so powerful, and now it's because they wanted to just get him over for this feud, which to me it makes it seem like he's just going to be a jobber to Wyatt, because I don't see why you would have Ryback win. I mean, unless they're planning on building him up for Rollins, I don't know, to kill time. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see what you can. I don't think that's got any long legs with it. All the matches are probably going to be horrible. So.
Yeah, I mean, I like Ryback. I like Wyatt. So, I mean, let's. I don't think they can have a great match, but character-wise, I think they're both great characters.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do. I think that you could go places with both of those guys, but I don't think a feud with those guys together is going to go anywhere. I just don't see. I'm not interested in seeing it. I don't see. I don't see anything good coming of it, to be honest.
You know what I think the problem is with everything right now is I think the problem is that everybody knows Roman Reigns is the chosen one, so he's kind of almost like blocking us from opening our minds to other possibilities. You know, like for someone like Ryback, I almost feel like it's not even worth bringing him into the equation because he's not going to get over where Reigns' spot. So I almost feel like he's kind of blocking people from getting over because we already know what the future is going to hold. So, you know, that kind of sucks. You know, it sucks that we know this, and it's really the first time that we do know this kind of stuff. Because I mean, think about it. Cena's been the top guy for 10 years, and 10 years ago, social media wasn't like it was now. We didn't know Cena was the hand-picked guy. I don't feel like back then.
I don't see what the problem is with having more than one top guy.
That's really how it should be. Like it was in the Attitude Era. You had Rock, Triple H, Foley, Austin. I mean, one of those four guys could have had that title at any time. You know, you weren't just looking at two guys and saying, "Okay, this is all we need."
I don't really understand either why they don't try to build up, like, you know, they always say SummerSlam is the second biggest show of the year. Why don't you try to book it like a big show?
Mm-hmm.
You know, put it in a stadium, make it like the summer's WrestleMania.
Right.
You know, do the access and all that stuff with SummerSlam again.
Why not?
You know, that way you've got two gigantic shows a year. I don't understand why they kind of just want to make that's WrestleMania, that's the only show we do that a year, make it seem, why can't you make 2 or 3 shows a year seem extremely special?
You're right. They should do that one, SummerSlam, and then the Rumble, probably.
Yeah.
And then everything else kind of be... and then I think a lot of the other pay-per-views should be gimmicky, in a sense, or at least have some kind of gimmick, like the Survivor Series. You know what? As a kid, that was like my second favorite pay-per-view was Survivor Series, because I was always curious about who's on the teams, and you know, why are they on these teams, and who's the captain. And now it's like they don't do any of that stuff. That's why I think maybe bringing War Games in to it would kick it up a notch again, and you know, because they do like 2 team matches, and it's not the same anymore. You don't need to have a title match on a show like that. There's no need for it.
I agree.
You can use that to kind of build feuds and stuff.
But the only thing is, though, is like every week on Raw, there's like a big, you know, tag match. So it's almost like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you do that in this day and age. I mean, back in the day, it's perfect because they didn't have any of these guys wrestling every week against each other. It's just a different time now, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm totally for having at least 2 or 3 of those matches, but I don't think you can do a whole show like that.
Yeah, I guess you're right, because they do that often, and then they'll end up just throwing like the Usos and the Matadors on one team, and it'd just be stupid.
Yeah,
No
I don't see how you make that work. But anyway, guys, I guess that's it. It looks like about every one of us is getting ready to go to sleep anyway. Hopefully, we can do Payback actually the night of Payback, because I think Raw definitely. Especially right after watching the long 3-hour pay-per-view the night before, it's taken its toll on us.
Yeah, I wish we had nicer things to say tonight, but we all are like half in the bag, and both shows weren't exciting shows. Personally, to me, I think one match out of 2 nights was really all I cared about. So that weren't any exciting to me.
This time of year is always horrible. Anyway.
What is it?
Honestly, I was saying this time of year is usually always really horrible anyway.
The thing is, I feel like we were just saying that, Wes. Weren't we? Don't you feel that way?
We've been saying that a lot.
Yeah, like I think in like
this time
November
of year a lot.
Saying it.
But I mean, honestly, like after Mania, even though Mania season wasn't even that great this year anyway, I think Mania ended up being a lot better than the lead up. It ended up being a lot better than we thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just like this is everyone's like creative time off, and they just kind of throw shit out there. unfortunately.
It's pretty sad, too, because I feel like when Daniel Bryan's not on the card, it kind of downgrades it a little bit. And it's crazy to say that, but I always feel like you can always count on him as having a good match. So because he wasn't on the show, it's almost like, meh. You know, there was one good match. But I always feel like he delivers. And because he's not around, I feel like it's that.
Even the guys that deliver now, though, like Ziggler and stuff like that, I'm just sick of them now, man. I mean, I want some new people on there.
Yeah.
I want to see some new stuff.
When's the pay-per-view now? Do you know the date? Because I know NXT's got a special this month, too.
I think it's the 17th. May 17th is the payback.
I think they're like the 20-something NXT.
Yeah. I always watch NXT. NXT and Lucha Underground, like I always try to catch those every week. Like,
I can start watching that, man. Everybody's telling me how great it is.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff's on YouTube, I think. They have the full shows on there, I think. So you can check that out on their YouTube page or whatever. But yeah, I mean it's totally different. Just the format of it. So I think that they're onto something there, but I mean I don't know what the future is for the Lucha Underground, because I think they're doing like a long hiatus after this season. So.
All right. Well, I guess we'll have to do another show soon. I'd even rather do a retro show if we don't have to. If there's a big hiatus till the next event. I always like doing those.
Yeah. We should definitely do one. We should get together and pick out some sort of classic. Maybe a WCW or ECW show or something. I was watching, for some reason, I think it was last night, Hardcore Heaven 97. It was like the first ECW pay-per-view that I got to watch live, and I was rewatching it. That's I mean, it has a lot of production issues and stuff like that, but it's a fun show, like, from what I watched so far. I watched, like, about the first hour of it or whatever, and I always watch a little bit of the network before I go to bed. So I might do a little bit more of it tonight.
Was that the one where Sunny came out? Was that one? I don't know.
Yeah, I think she was there. I think Sunny was on there.
I remember there was one match. I think it was like, I don't know, Sabu versus RVD or something, and like the lights kept going off, and it kept being WWE guys that would be in there when the lights came back on.
This was the one too that had Jerry Lawler wrestled the match, and that was when they were doing the whole WWF Invasion thing, which. To me, I thought that was like one of the best damn angles ever in wrestling.
Yeah.
Nobody hardly ever talks about it anymore, but I love that shit.
Well, no, maybe we should do Hardcore Heaven review. Want to do that?
I'm down.
You can do that. I haven't watched that in a long time.
All right. Well, guys, it's getting late, and everybody looks like they're getting ready to go to sleep, as well as I do. So we will see you guys possibly before the 17th, but definitely for Payback. We just love to punish ourselves, evidently, so we're going to be talking about that one. But hopefully, Hardcore Heaven would be another good one we could do before then. So
yeah, definitely.
All right, guys, you have a good night and a good week ahead, and I guess we'll see who wins King of the Ring tomorrow night. I might watch it. I don't know.
Great.
Take it easy, guys.
Have a good night. Bye, everybody.
Bye.